Guess what we're doing today? If you read the e-news, we are doing a spiritual Q&A today. We did this last year and people seem to really respond to it. So we're doing it again this year. And so I just want to put just a few parameters around this experience. It is a spiritual Q&A, so we're going to keep it around the spiritual domain. Also, that's, so what does this mean? Clarify these ideas. How does this, pertain to my experience in life? And so that's the second thing is no stories. We're not going into the big stories today. And then the third thing is, there are not always answers to every question. We're going to do the best we can, but there are some great mysteries in life that nobody has the answers to. We can have our ideas about things, but, we're just going to share these ideas and really see what feels right for us, what we resonate with. All right, and then we'll also do our best to repeat your questions so that it gets picked up on the recording. So, who would like to go first?
Well, may I suggest,
one more thing?
Yes, one more thing, that we start this off by going into a spiritual space.
Okay, yes. Let's go into the temple. Bring all our stuff into the temple.
Yes, and leave it at the door, like one leaves shoes. And just breathe and connect. And when you feel connected, ask within about the questions you might have. And you'll get a yes. And at that point, when it's your turn, you can raise your hand. And as Victoria said, we'll, from Spirit, do our best. And Spirit will tell us something. When you feel peaceful and connected, and know that you are speaking and acting from your inner higher self, then gently come back in awareness. Don't go far, far away. And then, when you're ready, raise a hand.
I see. Pete over there has got the first question. Go ahead, Pete. Uh-huh. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can at least get the question right. So you're asking if we're an expression of God, we're emanations of God, why
Are we here?
is what's the purpose of being here? What's the purpose of?
It's been said in here before that we are all individual gods.
We're all individual what?
Gods.
No, I don't think that's been said. We're expressions of God. We're expressions of the same
not plural.
divinity that we all share. We are all the hands and the hearts and the voice and the caring that comes from God when we are aware in our higher self. And other times, many other times, we're human beings, aware in our human selves. Does that resonate for you?
Kind of.
But so you're getting, what is the heart of what you're getting to?
Yeah.
I understood through one of the services that we're all individual gods.
Wow. Well, that's very interesting.
Hold up.
Yeah.
So my question was, what is the purpose of God if since we're all individual gods?
All right, let me see if I can sort of address this. So I think what I'm sensing is that there's this duality, but there really isn't a duality. I mean, it's all one. It's all spirit, omnipresent, universal, all around us, within us. We're unique expressions. Each one is a unique emanation of that light, right? So it's a different way for spirit to express in a unique way. You know, my way of expressing is different than your way of expressing, is different than your way of expressing, different than Pete's way of, you know, so many unique expressions, faces and personalities and individual ways that we shine this unique one light. So isn't that much more interesting a world to live in than if there was just one that we all look the same, that we all were the same, that we all were at the same level on the same path? So maybe it's all an expression of, you know, a way to play, you know, a way to play on this earth, in this dimension, through these individual expressions that we are. Okay. That might be it for now, and maybe that will clarify as we go along. Other people might ask different aspects of that.
And the other image that's coming to my mind is that of the ocean. That divine love, you could compare to the ocean. And we're all a part of that divine love, as if we were waves. So there's individual waves. And in that way, we're a part, we're an expression of the whole. We are our own little wave that's expressing the overall universal of the universe, the energy. I don't know if that helps.
Truly. And you know, surfers will tell you that every single wave is different. You know, it has a different, unique personality. Okay. Yes. How the principles are manifested in this particular center? And I think that's probably best expressed by our vision and mission statement. You know, we really kind of connected with those spiritual principles when we, you know, did this visioning and allowed the vision and mission statements to sort of come forth. So in unity, that first principle is that, you know, it's all one. There's one infinite, universal, divine. And the second idea, right, the second step of that is that we're all expressions of it, what we just talked about. So we are an expression of the fullness of that. Not just, you know, as I always say, it's not just a little spark. It's not just a spark of divinity. It's the fullness thereof. Right now, we're expressions of it. So we're all that. Everyone on the planet. But not everybody's awake to that. In fact, most people are kind of asleep to it. You know, they have the blinds closed. You know, don't let any of that light out. Or they don't know the light is there, right? So that first step is, wow, what would it be like? Let's hold that vision of the light awakening in all. You know, not that we have to do it, not that we have to, you know, go out there and, you know, proselytize. We hold the vision of the divine light awakening in all. Do you want to?
Shall we go on to the second principle?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Well, the second principle is that we are.
That we are.
The third is our thoughts and our. That our thoughts. Our thoughts. You say it. Yeah, our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions shape our experience in life. Right? So that's a unity principle.
So that, yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
I don't take tests very well. You've had that experience? Yeah. What? I don't have a brain, right? Okay, so when we pray, for instance, we are choosing to go within and align our thinking with what we know of Spirit. And when we do that, we are focusing our attention in the absolute realm, on God, if you wish, on Spirit, on the universe, on our higher self. The word is, interchangeable. It's the great power that is. And when we focus, wherever we focus, that's what tends to happen to us. Because other people, for one thing, perceive what we expect. And even if they want to give you more than you expect, they don't dare. Have you known people like that? That, you'd like to do something for them, but they're so ungrateful. And they're so focused on everything awful that you end up not being very motivated, right? They turn it away. That's not what we want to do. What we expect, what we practice expecting, what we practice lining our thoughts up with, is what eventually comes true in our experience. Because the absolute realm mirrors into the physical realm. Not necessarily in the time or in the appearance that we might have thought. But the experience comes about.
Yes.
Either, usually, in some way that just cracks you up. That you never expected could possibly happen, so it takes the time to recognize it. Or it kind of sneaks in and you realize, you think back, you think, oh, that's not a problem anymore, for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
So after that,
Yeah.
I'm still in test mode.
So then the next idea is that we have tools that can help us bring that spiritual dimension, the spiritual truth that we are, that dimension of infinite love, limitless good, pure peace, harmony, joy, that dimension. We have tools that can help us bring that dimension into our human experience here and now. And those tools are affirmative prayer. And so affirmative prayer is prayer that is taken to a level of understanding and embracing, empowering ourselves, that we are a continuation of the creative spirit of the divine. We mirror in our experience, that whole creative process. So affirmative prayer affirms the truth of who we are, affirms that we're part of this creative process, and affirms that good that we feel like is missing in our lives is actually already ours. And that's a really, the powerful part of affirmative prayer is not asking for something that's out there that, if I had that, that's going to make me happy, and I want my boss to give me more money, and I want that person to love me. No, it's affirming, I am love. I am infinite abundance. That's flowing through me. I am well-being. It affirms that truth that we may not be experiencing it in the human dimension, but it is the spiritual absolute truth of us. So that affirmative prayer affirms it for us. and then it becomes manifest in our experience. And then the second part of that second tool that we have is meditation. And meditation is really important because that is the thing that aligns us with this truth. Otherwise, they're just intellectual concepts. And that can only take you so far. You know, you really have to experience it, right? You have to experience your spiritual reality. You have to experience that dimension that, you know, you take yourself out of the physical reality. You know, you close your eyes, you turn within, and you open your heart and open up to that higher dimension and have that experience of it. Have that experience of spirit. And it's really good to do, in my experience, it works really well to pair those two and to start with meditation, because then you're already in, you've had that experience, you have that awareness of who you truly are. So the affirmative prayer that comes second is easy. Okay, what's the difference between unity teachings and traditional Christianity? You want to take that one?
I'm happy to. To me, the big difference, I mean, if you take the teachings of Jesus as we know them and as scholars are learning more about them, they are unity. You can also take the teachings of the Buddha. It's unity. You can also take the teachings of Native American shamans and chiefs. It's unity. And so what we're talking about is not a major difference between unity and religions. I wouldn't call unity a religion because it's actually open to all paths. But it's a path, it's a philosophy, it's a way of thinking, and it applies in all religions. And the biggest difference to me between the way that Jesus' teachings have been over time interpreted on the matrix of what we now call Western civilization is that Jesus, and he said, do this, was one. Jesus saw himself as the expression of the Father. He was not separate. And in traditional Christianity, as I was brought up in it, I mean, God was up there somewhere and I was down there somewhere, and it was going to be hard for me to meet anything that God wanted. So that separation to me is the essence of the contrast.
That Katie's asking this, as we're going through this process of transformation or awakening, that very often, you know, that ego self, the old patterns and the old ways of being, sometimes called the shadow self, kind of comes up, you know, and it's like it does not want to be stifled, right? It comes up and it sort of has its way. So you're asking how to walk that walk peacefully.
Okay, there's one answer to everything, actually, and that is, I mean, when you're in that situation and you're caught up in your physical self, which includes your feelings, breathe. Stop, breathe, and breathe until you can connect and feel the peace within. I hate to say it, but it's kind of like training a puppy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
They can't think of more than one thing at the same time, and neither can we. Multitasking, to the contrary, nevertheless. In one particular moment, we can only think of one thing. And our feelings are so powerful physically. They send all kinds of neurotransmitters coursing around our bodies, and it's like we've been injected with some kind of substance, and we have by our endogenous system. So what we need to do is change something physically that allows us to get out of that physical space. And breathing slowly actually does that. And then you can then turn within. So breathing is really, it comes up over and over and over again. It's the contrast between the absolute realm, where we are aware spiritually and acting spiritually, and the physical realm, where we are embodied human beings with feelings and thoughts and desires and all kinds of stuff, which are good. It's a gift to have those abilities. And spiritually, they're also a gift. Because if you think about it, what you're wishing makes you aware of something that's not right in your life. Something that's not going as you would like it to. It's an opportunity to become aware of a thought that you want to adopt instead of that reaction.
And that's what I wanted to say about that too, is that you're on a spiritual path when you become aware. And so give yourself credit, oh, I became aware. Look at that. That was another time I became aware that my ego was in charge or my fear was leading me. Just really celebrate that moment because, my guess is probably years ago you weren't. That was just leading you. That was just running the program. So be grateful. I love the idea of taking a breath. And then and don't fight it. Don't resist it because, what you resist persists. So breathing through it, saying, oh, look, I become aware. Oh, look at that. And have a sense of humor about it. Oh, look, there's that again. That old fear thing. Oh, look, there's my judgment coming up again. There's that thing that says, the world is against me and I'm just going to sit here in front of the TV and eat the Cheetos. There's that, so to taking a breath, recognizing what it is, not resisting it, and just having a sense of humor about it. And then you have a chance, as Rosemary was saying, pivot. Pivot. Now I've taken a breath, I've recognized, lighten up about it, and pivot to what is the spiritual truth about me. Or call on your divine self to help you through the situation, to lead the way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, that's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. What if in 30 seconds the elevator pitch? What is unity? Tick tock. Okay, so we can all take turns at maybe expressing that. But I might say it's a way of understanding our spirit, a way of understanding and experiencing the divine essence that we are, that is within us and everyone else, and opening to the awareness of love's presence. Might be one way of saying it. You might have another way of saying it.
Well, I think I've said it differently every time I've said it. But to me, I try when I get that question to make it not religious. Because then if I make it sound like it's about God, people try to pigeonhole unity as opposed to Christianity, for instance, and it's not. And so I'm likely to say something like, it's a system for understanding how we can use the gifts that we have to make life better for ourselves and for every other person that we're in contact with.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about being spiritual beings in a human experience, and you both have shared we're transforming the human experience.
Yes.
So how would you recommend that we can do that in the world? How are we transforming the human experience?
Yeah.
Would you say some? What is
Yeah.
the unity
And that's good.
encourages?
I'm glad you, there's this idea of, in New Thought a lot, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And that's a really wonderful way of looking at it. And I know Michael Beckwith from Agape says, I'm a spiritual being transforming human experience. So that sort of marries the idea of who you are and what your task is in the world. And transforming human experience can be as simple as sending loving thoughts to somebody, emanating your love, praying for somebody in the moment. If it feels right, saying something. If you always listening to your divine guidance. If it feels right, maybe saying something. If it feels right, maybe doing something, taking action. But always checking within, always coming from a place of love. I'm actually going to be talking about that a little bit more next week with the topic of being a beneficial presence in the world. But, that's it. And again, in our vision and mission statements, we connect in our hearts with others. So, that's not literal. You can't do that. That's a feeling of the essence of love. I'm connecting the essence of love with others. Celebrating our journey toward wholeness. It's a journey. It's a journey. Is there ever an end to it? No, I don't think so. It's a journey. Let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate it. I know some days it doesn't feel like, this journey.
That's when
The
we're in
dust and the
physical
grit of the journey, right? Do I want to celebrate that today? But, And then other days it's like, ooh, this is a great adventure. But it's really like the mindset of, you can start the day with a mindset. What an adventure. What an adventure is in store for me today. How can I be a blessing to others?
And if I may add a coda to that. To me, when I am going within and processing the challenges that come at me from my higher self, I'm happier. And I find that people notice. And then they ask me, how come you didn't react like, well, here's what I did. So it's a teaching moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned, I think I decided when I was maybe 33, that personally, I was not ever going to be world famous and do something that changed the whole world. You can see where I came up. And I just realized, that's not going to happen in this lifetime. But I have learned that by taking care of myself and by doing what I need to do to be the spiritual person that I want to be, which means thinking about the other person and caring and having compassion and, in my best moments, in my divine moments, that people notice and they become curious and they want to know how they can do that.
All right. Thank you all.